Today, I have a very special guest, a University of Miami Hurricane superfan. His name is Shelton Douthett, and he has a really remarkable story. He goes to football games, sits in the stands, and he has a full uniform. I'm not talking about a jersey. You have the helmet, the pads, the cleats, the whole thing.
In 2009, well, me and my brother became season ticket holders for the first time. And we decided to go on our first road game trip. It was University of Miami versus FSU. And we rented a car, got a hotel, and said, let's just go. So we went up there and had a good time. Ja'Cory Harris was the quarterback at the time, and he led the Canes all the way back in the fourth quarter, and we won the game. And it was really, really, really special because that was our first road trip together. After that, he develops a cough, and we just thought it was just a regular cold, so we gave him some cough medicine and went about our day. I woke up in the middle of the night and I seen him like struggling to breathe, and like it was a raspy, like a dry heaving cough. And I told my mom, I told her, we need to take him to the hospital. This is not a normal cough. So we took him to the hospital. Come to find out, he had some sort of respiratory infection with pneumonia, and he had to stay in the hospital for a while. During that time, I gave up my season tickets and I watched the games in the hospital there with him. We were watching a Georgia Tech game, and he looked up at the screen and asked me, "Oh, when are you going to do that in his own way?" And I looked up at the screen. I seen the Canes come out of the tunnel, and I'm like, "Play football?" I'm like, I think that train has sailed. And he's like, no, do that. And then I looked up at the screen again, so I'm trying to interpret what he's trying to say, and I'm like, "You mean like suit up?" And he said it with a smirk, so I thought he was just joking, and I'm like, and I'm laughing with him, and I said, "You know what? Once you get out of the hospital, I'll do it for one game." And he's like, "Okay." So a little bit after that, he got out of the hospital, and it seemed he had like a heart monitor just to monitor his vitals and everything. And a few days down the line, the infection came back and fluid built up back in his lungs, so we had to take him back to the hospital. I was just shocked at the whole statement and saying your brother passed away. And I went back into the room and I sat there, and I couldn't cry at the moment. It felt like a fever dream. And I really didn't feel like I was actually there. And I was just like hoping, like, maybe this is a bad dream. Maybe I'll just wake up. And my mom said, we got to go see him. So we put on our clothes and went out to the hospital. Well, once we got to the hospital, the corridor to the ICU was a short walk after you going through the doors. And it really felt like it was the longest walk I ever took. My feet were just heavy, and I'm like, I'm still like in aftershock. So when I saw my brother laying there, and that's when it hit me that like I lost, the closest thing to my heart. We shared a room and all that, and then all of that just hit me all at once. All those memories and all the good times and all that just hit me at once, and I just basically was on the floor. I could not control myself. After that, we had the funeral. Decided to bury him in the jersey that he wore with me and during the games. At that time, the Canes were chosen to play in the Champ Sports Bowl versus Wisconsin, and the bowl game was in Orlando. And I'm like, it's about a 3-hour drive, and I can do that. So we So I got tickets, got shoulder pads and everything, and went up to Orlando for the bowl game. And it was when you do something new, you always have like those thoughts of like what could go wrong, what could go right, why are you doing this and this. So I'm suiting up in the hotel room, and I'm like, am I really gonna do this? And then I just thought about my brother, and I was like, you know what, this is a personal thing, and I just want to bring him with me because I've never been to a bowl game, and it was my first game without him, so I wanted to honor him that way, and I couldn't think of any other way to do that, especially at a bowl game. So I suited up and I went out there, and I got the usual stares and the quotes, why you're out here, you missed the team bus and this and that, and you're late for practice. They made him drive his own car here, all that. So some Wisconsin fans came up to me and asked me, what's the deal with all this? And I would tell them the story. And at the end of the night, I came home with $500 in donations from Wisconsin fans and UM fans for the Scholarship Foundation. And right then and there, it just snowballed into what it is now. I've been doing it for 14 years. A lot of people are shocked that the national media has not noticed me until now. Yes. And everybody's like, you're finally getting your flowers and this and that. You're finally getting recognition. And I always tell people, and they'll constantly call me a legend and this and that and blah, blah, blah. I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate all of that. But my parents always raised me to be humble and to know where you came from. And, there's been plenty of other super fans and long-time season ticket holders longer than me. People tell me that I'm an inspiration and everything, and then my story touched them. That's good enough for me. Because what I aim to do is just to show everybody else how much this team has meant to me and my brother, and the love I have for my brother and the love he had for me. And if that touches somebody that I don't know, or makes somebody smile, or inspire somebody to do something for their sibling or somebody that's not their sibling, then my job is done.
The whole story came out during the Bethune game, right?
I think like 1 minute left in Bethune-Cookman, and my phone was just ringing nonstop. And I'm like, I thought it was my mom calling me, and then I see like everybody tagging me. I look at the tag, and it's like, you're on ACC Network, and I'm like, oh, okay, oh, that's what they're saying. Okay, so it just snowballed into that, and then next thing you know, Sports Center was on it, and I'm like, okay, this is a lot. It's not like I can't handle it. It's just like you said, I'm very, very humble. I know how to handle the trolls and everything, and I just ignore it after this story got out. And I even have some FSU fans jumping to my defense, and I'm like, oh, okay. I had Channel 7, which is our local news station, reached out to me. Then Channel 6 reached out to me. Then CBS Sports, CBS College Sports, College Game Day reached out to me saying, "Yo, we want to follow you around and this and that." And then the University of Miami, one of the coaches, invited me to one of their practices at the training facility, and one of the original bad boys of the '80s, Alonzo Highsmith, who's the president, who's like the chief of operation at the university. He's like, no, I want to meet this guy. So I met him, and then when I went down to practice, I met him. I met Jason Taylor. I met all the coaches, Coach Fields, Coach Rumpf, a lot of different coaches in it. The players knew who I was, and Yeah, and they came up to me and surrounded me. They was like, "Yo, man, I respect what you do," and this and that. Even some of the former UN players who were in the NFL around, they reached out to me and then they was like, "Yo, I miss seeing you out in the stands, man." And that's when Coach Cristobal gave me the all black uniforms they wore for the Georgia Tech game, and I thought that he just was giving me the jersey, and they said, "No, we gave you 32." They gave me a number 32 jersey because they did some digging, and 32 was the number I wore with my brother during the FSU game back in 2009. And he said, "Yeah, we did some digging, and we decided to give you this number because we saw that you wore the number with your brother back then." And he's like, "We're not just going to give you the jersey; we're going to give you the whole uniform to wear on that night." So I still have I still have the uniform and everything, and I just got to get like a mannequin so I can put it on the mannequin and place it in my man cave. But yeah, that and you know that plus them bringing me out during the Clemson game to honor me on the field. In front of everybody was just an overwhelming experience, and it's just basically all of that culminated into that moment, and then that's the first time I cried in front of thousands of people.
He would have a little smirk on his face and just pat me on the back with his big hands, and he would say, "Good for you, man. Proud of you." In his own way. I think about what he would do if he was here, but he is still here, so yeah.
Wow. I'm going to end it on that note because I can't do any better than that, and that's just so powerful of a video, and I know exactly how you feel because he's not here, but he's here. I know you miss him so much, but every time you go out and you do your ritual, tell us about your pregame ritual, which I think is also incredible.
Yeah. So when I put on everything, first the pants, then the cleats, and then the shoulder pads, which is the hardest thing to put on. Then I go to the cemetery, which is basically 10 minutes away from the house, 10-15 minutes away from the house. So I leave, so it gives me enough time to get to the tailgate and say hi to everybody. But I go to his headstone. I basically touch the headstone and just talk to him for a few, and then I leave. And then when I get to the stadium, before I go to my seat, I walk the entire stadium. So
I didn't know that part of it. Wow.
I walk the entire stadium, say hi to everybody, make sure I say, because it's a lot of the stadium workers that's there, and then I see them all the time. And that's another thing. I make sure I recognize everybody because it's just not only me doing this, and I want to make sure everybody feels involved or gets involved or just be recognized. So I make sure I say hi to everybody, whatever it's a stadium worker, janitor, one of the police officers, especially the kids, because a lot of the kids don't realize that I'm not a player. They just see this big guy in the uniform. You're like, okay, that's a player. And the parents know, but they don't. The parents know.
Pull that uniform out. That's one of the reasons why they think you're a player. If I wore that uniform, they would know exactly. Like, what's the deal? It's Halloween, so you must work out quite a bit.
Yeah, I work at the police department. I'm a supervisor at a property unit. So I am a civilian employee technically, but I do work alongside the police officers, and we do have a gym at the police department. So along the years when I first started to do it, if you look back, I was really, really skinny. And now you look at me now, and it's like everybody thinks I can play like I look like I'm a linebacker now. Yeah, so I try to stay fit, and especially this coming year, because after my wedding and everything, I plan to try to go into the academy and be a certified police officer, like my mom. So that's so I'm staying in the gym now, and I'm training as we speak.
Now, during your wedding, I have to ask you this question: are you going to wear a tuxedo or a University of Miami uniform? Please wear a uniform.
I get that. The funny thing is, I get that question more often than not.
I thought I had a winner there. That's a common question, Shelton.
Hey, everybody asks that, and every time I post about my fiance and everything, and I show my fiance the question, and she looked at me, she's like, "You better not." No, I'm not gonna do it.
If you want me to ask her, I can be very convincing. I could ask her.
Oh yeah, I'll give you your information, and I'll at least try
numbers, and I'd like to give it a shot. I think I could get you going there, or ruin things. You don't want that. Got to tell you, that's the other part of me.
Especially right before the honeymoon.
Yeah. Oh, I've almost forgotten. What do you see? And you could be a broadcaster. You've been to so many games.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see for UM next year as a team?
Well, as always, I try not to be biased, but I gotta be a little biased. But I see it trending up, because coming from a 5-7 season to a 7-5,
yeah,
in Mario's third year, all I see is the arrow trending upward, and we are missing a couple pieces, a couple. I would say, like, we're just a couple of transfers and some freshmen away from being a complete team. All I see is it trending upward. A lot of people think that this is the microwave society. You're supposed to automatically instill a new coach, and then boom, 12-0 season. It doesn't happen that way, especially with the great teams. It doesn't happen. It never happened with Nick Saban. It didn't happen with Lane Kiffin. It didn't happen with Les Miles. So you have to give it time.
Well, Shelton, you're a remarkable man, and I know that your brother is hearing this right now. I think you do too.
Thank you.
I'm honored to interview you, but just reconsider that wedding offer I have for you. Anyway, I'm going to pack it in.
I'm going to run it by her. I'm going to see her later, and I'm going to run it by her. And I'm like, look, I didn't say it. He said it. So
okay. All right.
You take full responsibility.
Yeah. Thanks again. And it was just fun chatting with you.
But I appreciate being on here, and I appreciate talking to other people, especially on these podcasts that lets me know, like, my reach is extending beyond the state of Florida. So I'm very happy to chop it up anytime.
Great. So I'll let you get to your day. You have a lot of things going on in your life. And thanks again.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me on, man.
Okay, great.